Thanks for joining us today. I'm Gabe Garish, owner of Backwoods Pursuit, and today we're going to do a Forloh base layer review. We're going to look over some of the Forloh base layers, how they fit into a layering system, and what the difference is between some of their different pieces. We cover most of what they offer here, at least in some form or another. So we're going to go over how to select which ones are going to fit best for the seasons that you're going to be needing and hunting in, as well as how they fit and how they worked for me over the course of using these during this last fall during hunting season. I'll put links to all these down in the description for you so you can check them out for yourself if something looks interesting. And as always, we really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. There's a ton of gear reviews over on the website as well, backwoodspursuit.com. I'll put links to all that down in the description for you to check out. Let's dive into this review. All right, to start, let's look at what the offerings are here in the Forloh base layer. You've got really two lineups that cover most of what they offer in their base layers currently. You have the Deep Space lineup, which these two here are the Deep Space, and those are more based for your extra warmth when you're looking for warmth, so a cold weather type of a setup. And then you have the Solair lineup, which that's what this one is, and that has that Burr Pro integrated into it, so it cools better. So it's not going to be quite as much what you want if you're looking for extra warmth, but it breathes really well. They all breathe really well, but it's more something that is going to be designed for warmer weather and help you cool down quicker. So that covers most of what they offer. However, in the Deep Space line, you have the crew here, and this is just your standard crew, long sleeve crew. And then you have a long sleeve quarter zip like this one here. They currently don't have a hoodie in the Deep Space, at least that I know of. I wish they did, because that's a cold weather piece, and I like a hood in a cold weather piece, but it is nice not having a hood in something like this, because when you're layering over the top of it, which you typically are in cold weather, you don't have that extra hood. And then in the Solair lineup, this is the technical hoodie, and then they also make a crew, a long sleeve and short sleeve crew, and then a standard hoodie that doesn't fully unzip, and then the technical hoodie has a full zip top to bottom here. So this is much nicer as an outer layer on warmer hunts, warmer hikes when you're out there and you want to cool down. So there's a lot of those different pieces on their website, but really everything in the Solair lineup is going to use the same material, and everything in the Deep Space lineup uses this material, just different configurations within each of those. Now, as far as weights with these, the Solair Technical Hoodie came in at 17.3 ounces on my scale. Size large in all of these, and we'll go over fits here in a minute, but 17.3 ounces. The Deep Space is, again, the warmer weather, the more insulating pieces, base layers here. 10.2 ounces on the crew, and 14.3 on the quarter zip here, which has, of course, your quarter zip and extra pocket, where that's where your weight savings is on the crew. You don't have the collar, the half collar there. You don't have the extra pocket on the crew, and then you don't have the quarter zip there. So they are, as far as material weight, they're the same as far as I know. Warmth is about the same, but the way I use these, I went with the crew here underneath the quarter zip on colder weather, October, November style hunts where I needed extra warmth. So that's the differences in the weights. I don't have all the models of every configuration they make, but they do have those weights on the website as well, but they were consistent with what they said on the website for me. Now, some of the differences in materials here between the Deep Space lineup and the Solair lineup. The Solair lineup, like I mentioned earlier, features Burr Pro. Really does make a big difference in keeping you cool. Where I noticed that was not only in, use the pants, the lightweight pants to have the Burr Pro, that really has that cool to the touch feel to it. But I just for an experiment, I used this piece, which weight-wise, material weight-wise, is very similar to the Deep Space that has the Trizar enhanced warming agent in it, but this has the cooling agent in it. So I used this as a layer when I was sleeping in October overnight on a backpacking trip, and you could feel that. It was definitely not something that I wanted to sleep in going forward because of that cooling agent if you're wanting an extra base layer to stay warm. So that's one thing that I certainly learned from experience on using this during sleeping as a sleeping base layer. Not the best for that because of that, because typically if you're using it in a sleeping bag, you want to stay warm and it's cold overnight. So I would definitely go with the Deep Space lineup as a base layer. And because of that Trizar enhanced warming agent, these worked much, much better as a base layer to sleep in. I do wish, because of that, because the Solair comes in this technical hoodie or a standard hoodie, whereas the Deep Space lineup doesn't come with a hoodie. I like to sleep in a hoodie. A lot of times I'll use either a quilt or just something to keep my head or ears warm. So I do like that, like having that hoodie option, but that isn't currently available in the Deep Space lineup. Now, both lineups feature Polygiene. I really like having Polygiene in my base layers, particularly and especially in warm weather type pieces like the Solair lineup. That's where you're going to be using that in your warmer weather hunts and hikes, and so odor mitigation can be more critical that way than later season or cold weather pieces. Now, I used this whole lineup here for an entire week. Same setup, didn't change or whatnot. I wanted to see how that did with these pieces. It did phenomenal. Polygiene has treated me really, really well as far as odor mitigation goes. They both are abrasion resistant as well. They did very well for me over the course of the season using these, and they're very stretchy. They have slightly different percentages here of spandex and polyester. So the Deep Space is 87-13, is 87% and 13%, whereas the Solair is 90-10. Now, one thing I noted on durability with these pieces, overall, I used them for the season, didn't have any rips or tears, any snags or anything of that nature. They did really, really well. I did notice, however, that there was a little bit of pilling on the interior of these pieces. This is the Deep Space the quarter zip here. On the inside there, where the inside of your neck, maybe after a few days of being out there and you start getting some stubble growing or whatnot, that's going to wear that down. But that's not uncommon with pretty much anything out there because it's pretty abrasive on your whiskers of your neck or whatnot. So I noticed that there, and then also on the Solair, because I wore the Solair over the top of these at times, and whenever that was the case, I did have a little bit like up on the top right here from a binocular harness or those kinds of things that are going to wear on these types of pieces. Nothing uncommon, but there was a little bit of pilling going on with the garments that were on the outside. All right, now speaking of fit, this is the Crew base layer, again, size large. I typically wear size large. It fits a bit snug like it's supposed to. It's supposed to be a base layer that goes underneath either of these, but the arm length is good. It is very much fitted to your arm, so it's great for really layering over the top of. It's not extra, there's not extra bulk here, so the fit is on the snug side. If you like a loose fitting base layer, I would size up with the Deep Space Crew base layer here, but that's the way that fits here. The Crew, the quarter zip here in the Deep Space as well goes over the top of this really well and fits a little bit. It's meant to be layered over the top of, so it's a little bit more loose fitting than the Crew. So if you throw this on here, and they do have real nice thumb loops here as well, if you need to use those, it does aid in getting these on and off a lot easier. So you can see it's a little bit looser fitting. You have a little bit more in the arms, but not a lot more. And then you do have the quarter zip here. So it's just a little bit better that way as far as the fit, but it's meant to be layered on top of, and they size them accordingly, which is really nice. So you're not guessing which way to go. But again, if you do like very loose fitting, you can size up in the base layer. Even in this you could, but it's going to be fairly loose fitting. Now here on the Solair, I'll go ahead and put this over the top because I wore this combination quite a bit, where this base layer one after the other. So the Solair here, you'll see, is quite a bit bigger in the fit. And this is again the technical hoodie, and it comes in the regular hoodie and the Crew long sleeve and short sleeve. So you'll see here, there's quite a bit of extra space here. It's not like it's really big, but if I wanted this to be more of a fit where I've got a snug fit, then I would size up or size down, I'm sorry, to maybe a medium in this. I don't know if I would or not. I'd have to try the medium on to see if I'd want to go to a medium in this, but the large fit pretty well here, as you can see. It's a good fit. It's just meant to be a little bit more relaxed in the overall fit than the other pieces. Now earlier I mentioned that the hood on the Solair technical hoodie being a little on the large side. I want to show you what I meant by that. Now if you're wearing a baseball cap, not a problem at all. It fit really well over a baseball cap. It's able to move with you really well. It's not too much space or anything here, not too much material on the side, so you can turn to the side, you're not losing any visibility. Now, where I ran into trouble with this is if I don't have my hood on here and I have say a beanie or something like that. It's really cold out, walking along, and then this tended to come down over my eyes a little bit. It's just a little bit too much material here. If you don't have a ball cap on, if you're just wearing a beanie, then peripheral vision is blocked, that sort of thing. So that's where I meant that this might benefit a little bit from more elastic around the hood. That way, if you aren't wearing a ball cap or something of that nature, then you're not going to be in trouble as far as being able to use the hood. Otherwise, the hood worked real well, especially just with a ball cap. Otherwise, it was a little on the big side. Now, some of the pros and cons of these pieces that I found after using them for a season. For what this piece is as well, that's over 17 ounces. It's a little on the heavy side for a base layer, but it's also kind of an outer layer for a late season, or I'm sorry, an early season archery style hunt where you don't need a lot of warmth. It could be lighter, I think, but that full zip right there, and then you've got another pocket there, and then you got two pockets here in the front. So it's really meant to be almost kind of like an early season outer layer when the temperatures aren't that cold and you don't need a lot of warmth. So for almost a jacket style of a hoodie, it's not bad on weight, but it is a little bit on the heavy side. Now over here on the Deep Space lineup, I really like the way these fit. These fit very true to size. The crew is a little bit, like I just mentioned and just showed you, it's a little bit on the snug side, but they fit really well. I like the fit better than on the Solair, as at least the technical hoodie here. One thing I didn't love about the Deep Space here though is this chest pocket is too high. It's too high up on your neck. It could be positioned down a little bit farther and be a little more usable. It just seemed like it was in an awkward spot for me that way. But otherwise, really like this piece. Really like the warmth that these offer. They are a great addition to your mid to late season when you're layering. They fit really well for that. So didn't have really many complaints about this piece here, this base layer. It's soft enough on the interior here. It can be used as a base layer next to the skin layer, or you can go with the crew underneath, put this over the top of it. Worked really well both ways. So it just depends on what situation you might be needing. But really like the fit and the overall way that these are built, and the softness, the stretch, just overall really loved the Deep Space line. That is a rundown of the Forloh base layer systems. They were very impressive using them this fall. They did everything they needed to do. Very nice that they cover you on the colder side here with the Deep Space lineup if you need that extra warmth, or when it's warmer out, the Solair lineup here that has that Burr Pro integrated into it is awesome. It does a really good job of keeping you cool, more so than anything else that I have used. So very impressive that way. And also very impressive that all of this is made and sourced in the USA. That can't be stated enough. That's awesome that they keep the business here in the US. A couple of tweaks I might make on the Deep Space lineup. I wish there was an option of this piece with a hood, like the Solair hoodie or technical hoodie. That would be an awesome addition, because I like to sleep in these layers if I'm backpacking in colder weather and want that extra warmth overnight. And on the hood here, I do wish that the hood had some elastic or something, was fitted a little bit better on the Solair technical hoodie. But just small changes, but overall really enjoyed it. So that is the Solair system and the Deep Space system. Their whole lineups there. I'll put links to all these down in the description for you, so you can check them out for yourself. And go drop us any questions or comments on any of this, and we're happy to help you out if we possibly can. Thanks for watching here today, and we will see you next time.